The night shift at the Antarctic Deep Space Monitoring Station was usually quiet. Most of the staff spent their time checking equipment, drinking coffee, and watching the endless stream of data from space. But on this cold winter night, everything changed. Dr. James Miller sat at his desk, his third cup of coffee growing cold beside him. The monitors in front of him showed the usual patterns of cosmic background radiation and random space noise. He had done this job for 15 years, and nothing truly exciting had ever happened. Until now. A strange signal caught his attention. At first, he thought it was just another piece of space junk broadcasting leftover radio waves. But this was different. The pattern was too regular, too structured to be random. "Hey, Mike," he called out to his colleague. "Come take a look at this." Mike Thompson, a younger technician with bright eyes and messy brown hair, walked over to James's station. "What have you got?" "Look at this pattern. It's repeating every 12 seconds, but it's not matching any known human satellites or space debris." Mike leaned in closer, his eyes widening as he watched the signal's steady pulse on the screen. "Should we alert the director?" James nodded slowly, his heart beginning to race. Yeah, we should." Within an hour, Director Ann Wells stood in the monitoring room, surrounded by a team of their best analysts. The signal was now being displayed on the main screen, its mysterious pattern dancing across the display like a digital heartbeat. "What do we know?" she asked, her voice cutting through the tense silence. James stepped forward, clutching his tablet. "The signal is coming from the edge of our solar system, somewhere in the Kuiper Belt. It's definitely artificial, and it's definitely not one of ours. The pattern suggests it's a distress beacon." "A distress beacon?" The director's eyebrows rose. "Are you saying?" "Yes," James said, taking a deep breath. "We're looking at what appears to be an alien distress call." The room fell silent. Everyone stared at the screen, watching the steady pulse of humanity's first contact with alien life. "Get me the World Space Council," Director Wells ordered. Now. The next 24 hours were chaos. Government officials from around the world connected to emergency video conferences. Scientists argued over the signal's meaning. Military leaders demanded defensive preparations. But through it all, James and his team worked tirelessly to decode the message. Finally, in the early hours of the morning, their computers cracked it. The message was being broadcast in a universal mathematical language, using prime numbers and basic physics constants as a foundation. James stood before the World Space Council's emergency session, his hands shaking slightly as he read the translation. "Emergency. Fleet stranded. Critical systems failure. 300 ships. 2.3 million souls aboard. Requesting assistance. Location follows." The council chamber erupted in discussion. How could Earth help an alien fleet? Why had they come to our solar system? What did they want? But James couldn't help thinking about the words 2.3 million souls. Not creatures, not aliens, but souls. Somewhere out there, millions of thinking, feeling beings needed help, and they had reached out to humanity. The council debated for hours before reaching a decision. Earth would respond. The message they sent back was simple. "We hear you. Help is coming. Hold on." As James sent the transmission, he thought about how this moment would change everything. Humanity had just taken its first step onto a much larger stage. In the days that followed, the International Space Relief Initiative, ISRI, was formed. Every spacefaring nation pooled their resources. Ships were prepared. Teams were assembled. The whole world watched and waited for more information about the stranded fleet. And in his quiet moments, James would look up at the stars and wonder about those 2.3 million souls waiting in the darkness. They had called out for help, and humanity had answered. Now they just had to figure out how to reach them. The greatest rescue mission in human history was about to begin, and no one knew exactly how it would end. But one thing was certain. Humanity was ready to prove itself to the universe. 2 weeks after receiving the distress signal, Captain Emily Stone stood on the bridge of the ISS Horizon, Earth's most advanced long-range spacecraft. Her team of 20 specialists had trained for every possible scenario they could think of. But nothing could truly prepare them for humanity's first face-to-face contact with aliens. "Final system check complete," reported Jack Wilson, her chief engineer. "We're ready for the last burn toward the target coordinates." Emily nodded, her expression focused. The Horizon had made excellent time, thanks to its experimental fusion drive. They had covered in days what would have taken older ships months. "Take us in, steady and slow," she ordered. "Let's not startle anyone." As they approached the coordinates, the ship's sensors began picking up massive objects ahead. The crew gathered at the viewing windows, and gasps filled the bridge. In the distance, illuminated by the dim light of the distant sun, floated hundreds of enormous ships. "My God," whispered Dr. Laura Thompson, their xenobiologist. "Each one of those ships must be bigger than anything we've ever built." The alien vessels were beautiful in a strange way. They looked like giant silver leaves, their surfaces smooth and flowing. But even from a distance, the crew could see that something was wrong. Many of the ships showed signs of damage, and their usual glow of power was dim or absent. A message came through their communication system, translated by their computers. "Human vessel, welcome. Please approach docking coordinates being transmitted." Emily took a deep breath. "Well, team, this is what we came for. Let's make Earth proud." The Horizon carefully maneuvered toward the largest of the alien ships. As they got closer, they could see that its hull was made of a material that seemed to shift colors in the starlight. A docking port extended out to meet them, automatically adjusting to fit their ship's airlock. "Atmospheric analysis shows the air in their ship is compatible with ours," reported Dr. Thompson. "They must have adjusted it for us." After completing the docking procedures, Emily led her first contact team to the airlock. They had practiced this moment hundreds of times, but her heart still raced as the doors began to open. The aliens waiting for them looked surprisingly graceful. They stood about 7 feet tall, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer. Their forearms moved with careful precision, and their large eyes studied the humans with obvious intelligence and curiosity. One of them stepped forward and spoke, their words instantly translated by the humans' communication devices. "I am Guide First Ring, leader of this refugee fleet. Thank you for answering our call." Emily stepped forward as well. "I'm Captain Emily Stone of Earth's International Space Relief Initiative. We're here to help." As they walked through the alien ship, First Ring explained their situation. Their home star had become unstable, forcing them to evacuate their entire civilization. They had planned to travel to a colony in a nearby star system, but a massive cosmic storm had damaged their quantum drive systems. "Our engineers are highly skilled," First Ring said, leading them to a vast engine room. "But the damage requires expertise we don't have. The storm altered the quantum fields in ways we've never seen." Jack Wilson studied the alien engines with growing excitement. "Captain," he said, turning to Emily, "these quantum drives, they're actually similar to our fusion reactors, just more advanced. The principles are almost the same." First Ring's large eyes blinked in surprise. "Your species has mastered quantum fusion. But our scans showed only chemical rockets and basic fusion drives." "We're still developing the technology," Emily explained. "But that means we've dealt with all the problems and failures that can happen. Sometimes older experience is more valuable than advanced technology." The alien leader was quiet for a moment, considering this. Finally, they spoke. Perhaps this is why the universe guided us here. We have the advanced technology, but lack the practical experience to fix it. You have the experience we need." Emily smiled. "On Earth, we have a saying, sometimes you need a fresh pair of eyes on a problem." She looked at the alien leader. "Or in this case, maybe you need a species that's used to fixing things the hard way." First Ring made a gesture that their translators indicated was agreement. "Then let us begin. We have much work to do, and 2.3 million lives are counting on us. As her team began working with the alien engineers, Emily couldn't help but feel proud. Humanity might be younger and less advanced, but they had something valuable to offer. Sometimes the best solutions came from unexpected places. Tom Walker was enjoying his retirement in a small cottage by the sea when the call came. He had spent 40 years working with nuclear reactors before retiring 2 years ago. Now he mostly fished and fixed old boats. He never expected to be called back to work, especially not for something like this. "Mr. Walker," Captain Stone's voice came through his phone. "We need your expertise. You wrote the manual on containing unstable fusion reactions." Tom looked out at the ocean, watching the waves roll in. "Captain, I'm retired. Besides, I hear you're dealing with alien technology. What good would my old knowledge be?" "That's exactly why we need you," she replied. "Their quantum drives are failing in ways that remind us of the early fusion reactor problems. We need someone who remembers how we solved those issues the first time." 24 hours later, Tom found himself aboard a shuttle heading toward the alien fleet. He clutched his old notebook, filled with handwritten notes from decades of working with reactors. As they approached the massive silver ships, he wondered if he was too old for this kind of adventure. Jack Wilson met him at the docking bay. "Mr. Walker, thank you for coming. You won't believe what we found." They walked through the alien ship's corridors, passing teams of humans and aliens working together. Tom noticed how the aliens moved with a fluid grace that made them seem almost weightless. In the engine room, Tom got his first look at the quantum drives. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Swirling energy patterns danced behind transparent panels, reminding him of the northern lights. "See this pattern?" Jack pointed to a display showing energy readings. "It's almost identical to what happened at the Springfield reactor in '45. Tom's eyes widened. He remembered that incident well. The reactor had almost gone critical, but they had saved it using an unconventional cooling method. "Have you tried introducing a controlled instability?" Tom asked, opening his notebook. "Sometimes you need to fight fire with fire." The alien engineers looked at him like he was crazy. One of them, introduced as Technical Master Greenwave, spoke through the translator, deliberately making it more unstable. "That goes against all our safety protocols." Tom smiled, remembering all the young engineers who had given him that same look over the years. Sometimes the safest path isn't the straightest one. "Show me your system diagnostics." For the next few hours, Tom studied the alien technology. Despite its advancement, the basic principles were the same as Earth's fusion reactors. The cosmic storm had created quantum fluctuations that were preventing the drives from stabilizing, much like how plasma instabilities had plagued early fusion experiments. "Here's what we need to do," Tom said, sketching in his notebook. "We introduce a controlled secondary fluctuation that will cancel out the storm damage, like using noise-canceling headphones, but with quantum fields." The aliens discussed among themselves in their musical language. Finally, Greenwave turned to Tom. "Your solution is unorthodox. Our engineers would never have considered it, but we can see the logic in your calculations." "Sometimes," Tom said, "experience teaches you that the obvious solution isn't always the right one. We learned that the hard way on Earth." They spent the next several hours setting up the test. Humans and aliens worked side by side, combining Earth's practical knowledge with alien technology. Tom felt energized in a way he hadn't in years. This was why he had become an engineer in the first place, to solve problems and help others. As they prepared for the first test, Captain Stone joined them in the engine room. "Are you sure about this, Mr. Walker?" Tom patted his old notebook. "Captain, I've seen just about everything that can go wrong with a reactor. Sometimes you need to take a step backward to move forward." The aliens initiated the test sequence. Everyone watched as the energy patterns in the quantum drive began to shift. For a moment, the swirling patterns became chaotic, and some of the aliens made nervous sounds. But then, gradually, the chaos settled into a steady, smooth flow. Greenwave's translator crackled with excitement. It's working. The quantum fields are stabilizing. Tom smiled, watching the beautiful patterns of energy flow. Sometimes the best solutions came from unexpected places, like a retired engineer with an old notebook full of hard-learned lessons. Robert Davis wiped the sweat from his forehead as he studied the damaged quantum drive housing. After Tom Walker's breakthrough with the energy patterns, the team had discovered another problem. The physical structure holding the drives was cracking under the strain. The alien engineers had tried their advanced repair techniques, but nothing worked. The cosmic storm had changed the material properties of their super-strong alloys in strange ways. Now they were turning to Robert, a simple welder from Detroit, for help. Your metals might be advanced, he told Greenwave, but metal is still metal. And I've been fixing broken things all my life. Robert had brought his old welding equipment from Earth, tools that the aliens had initially dismissed as primitive. Now they watched with curiosity as he set up his gear. The trick isn't just joining the metal, he explained while working. It's understanding how it wants to bend and flow. Every piece of metal has its own personality, you could say. Captain Stone stood nearby with first ring, watching Robert work. The alien leader seemed fascinated by the sparks flying from the human's welding torch. Such basic tools, first ring commented through the translator. Yet he works with such confidence. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Greenwave rushed to check the readings. The quantum field fluctuations are increasing. The housing is barely holding. Robert didn't panic. He'd worked through emergencies before, fixing hulls on sinking ships and patching reactor containment vessels. Everyone clear the area, he ordered, surprising even himself with his authority. I need space to work. The quantum drive's glow was getting brighter, its energy threatening to break free. The aliens wanted to shut it down, but Tom Walker's voice came through the comm system. If we shut it down now, we'll lose the stabilization pattern. We need to let Robert work. Robert took a deep breath and began welding faster than he ever had before. His hands moved with practiced precision, laying down perfect beads of metal despite the increasing vibrations. He had discovered that the alien alloy responded well to old-fashioned techniques, almost as if it was relieved to be treated simply. The housing integrity is reaching critical levels, Greenwave warned. Structural failure in 2 minutes. Almost there, Robert muttered, moving to the final section. Sweat dripped down his face, but his hands remained steady. This was what he did best, fixing things that others thought couldn't be fixed. With 30 seconds remaining, he made the final weld. Done. Reinforce the quantum fields now. The alien engineers rushed to their stations, adjusting their equipment. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The alarms continued blaring, and the housing groaned under the strain. Then, gradually, the vibrations began to decrease. The bright glow of the quantum drive dimmed to its normal level. The emergency alarms fell silent. Greenwave checked the readings again and again. It's holding. The housing integrity is at 98.9%, better than when it was new. The aliens crowded around Robert's welds, scanning them with their advanced instruments. First Ring seemed amazed. How did you know exactly where to reinforce the structure? Robert shrugged, already cleaning his tools. 30 years of fixing things teaches you to listen to the metal. Technology changes, but the basics stay the same. Captain Stone smiled. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways. The news spread quickly through the fleet. The humans' primitive welding techniques had succeeded where advanced alien technology had failed. More importantly, they had prevented a disaster that could have damaged multiple ships. Later, in the ship's rest area, Robert sat with Tom Walker, both men tired but satisfied. You know what's funny? Robert said, all those years fixing cars and ships, I never imagined I'd be using those same skills to save an alien fleet. Tom nodded, understanding completely. That's the thing about human knowledge. We learned everything the hard way through trial and error. Turns out that's worth something, even to advanced aliens. As they rested, more emergency repair requests came in from other ships in the fleet. The aliens had decided to trust human engineering techniques. Robert picked up his welding helmet, ready to get back to work. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the best ones, even in the most advanced situations. While the engineers worked on repairing the fleet, something unexpected began to happen. The humans and aliens started learning from each other in ways that went far beyond technical knowledge. In one of the fleet's largest gathering spaces, Maria Torres, the team's cultural specialist, sat with a group of alien children. Their large, curious eyes watched as she taught them to play chess. The ancient game had captured their imagination, especially when she explained how humans had only recently created computers that could master it. "But why didn't you just program the correct moves from the beginning?" asked one of the young aliens, moving a knight across the board. Maria smiled. "Because part of the beauty of chess is discovering new strategies. Sometimes the best moves aren't obvious until someone tries something new." Nearby, First Ring watched the scene with interest. "Your species continues to surprise us," they said to Captain Stone. "You solve problems in ways we never considered." The captain nodded. "We've had to be creative throughout our history. When you don't have advanced technology, you learn to think differently." The aliens had begun sharing their own games too. They showed the humans a complex holographic puzzle that was popular among their children. To their surprise, the humans quickly began finding new solutions to ancient puzzle patterns. In another part of the ship, Dr. Lisa Brown, the team's medical officer, was comparing notes with the alien healers. She discovered that while their medical technology was far more advanced, they had never thought to use simple solutions like casting broken bones to let them heal naturally. "Sometimes the body knows best how to fix itself," she explained. "Our medicine often focuses on helping natural healing processes rather than replacing them." The aliens were particularly fascinated by human cooking. Their own nutrition came from perfectly balanced synthetic foods, but when the humans shared some of their packed meals, the aliens were amazed by the variety of flavors and textures. "You mean you still combine raw ingredients?" asked Green Wave, cautiously tasting a piece of chocolate. Their expression changed to one of wonder. "This is incredible. We had forgotten food could be like this." Tom Walker had set up an impromptu class teaching alien engineers about Earth's history of technological development. They were stunned to learn how quickly humans had progressed from simple steam engines to spaceflight. "Your species adapted so rapidly," one alien engineer remarked. "Our civilization took 3 times as long to achieve similar advances." "Necessity is the mother of invention," Tom replied. "When you need to solve a problem badly enough, you find a way." The aliens shared their own knowledge freely. They taught the humans about the mysteries of quantum physics, showed them star maps of distant galaxies, and explained concepts that Earth's scientists had only dreamed about. But what impressed the aliens most was humanity's art and music. When Maria organized a small concert featuring recordings of Earth's greatest compositions, the aliens sat in stunned silence. "Such beauty from physical instruments," First Ring whispered after hearing Bach's cello suite. "We had turned to pure mathematical harmony centuries ago. But this has soul." The human crew also learned about the aliens' greatest challenge, their dying home star that had forced them to flee. They shared stories of loss and hope, finding common ground in their experiences of facing adversity. "Perhaps," First Ring said to Captain Stone one day, "the universe guided us to your solar system for more than just repairs. We had grown so dependent on our technology that we forgot the importance of intuition and creativity." The captain watched as Robert taught young aliens how to make simple repairs using basic tools. "And we're learning that advancement doesn't always mean abandoning the old ways." In the 3 weeks since the humans had arrived, both species had grown to respect each other deeply. The aliens began incorporating human problem-solving methods into their own work, while the humans eagerly learned about advanced technology. "You know what's remarkable?" Maria said to Lisa as they watched humans and aliens working together. We're not just fixing their ships. We're learning how to combine the best of both our civilizations. As repairs continued throughout the fleet, this unexpected cultural exchange became just as valuable as the technical solutions. Sometimes the greatest discoveries happen when different worlds meet. The warning came from one of the fleet's long-range sensors. A massive solar flare from a nearby star was heading straight for them, carrying enough radiation to damage their partially repaired ships. Captain Stone stood with first ring in the fleet's command center, watching the holographic display of the approaching danger. The giant wave of stellar energy would reach them in less than 48 hours. Can the fleet move out of its path? She asked. First ring's expression was grim. Most of our ships have working quantum drives now, thanks to your people. But 37 ships are still undergoing repairs. We cannot leave them behind. Jack Wilson studied the data with Tom Walker. The radiation will fry their systems, Jack said. Even with our repairs, the fleet can't withstand that kind of power. Tom scratched his chin thoughtfully. What if we don't need to move the whole fleet? What if we just need to shield it? Shield it? First ring asked. Even our most advanced shields couldn't handle this level of radiation. Robert Davis, who had been quietly listening, stepped forward. Back on Earth, we sometimes use old cargo ships as breakwaters to protect harbors from storms. What if we did something similar here? The room fell silent as everyone considered this idea. Captain Stone was the first to speak. Earth has thousands of satellites and old rocket stages in orbit. Most of them are just space junk now. But they're made of metal, Robert finished. Metal that could deflect radiation. First ring's translator crackled with surprise. You want to build a wall in space, with primitive Earth satellites. Not just satellites, Jack added, getting excited. We have decommissioned space stations, old fuel tanks from moon missions, even retired solar panels. They're all just floating up there. Captain Stone contacted Earth immediately. Within hours, space agencies worldwide began launching recovery missions for their orbital debris. Old satellites were collected, space station modules were detached, and countless pieces of space junk were gathered. The aliens watched in amazement as humans turned their garbage into a potential lifeline. Their own civilization had always focused on efficiency, disposing of old technology. They had never considered that outdated equipment might someday be useful. How will we position all this material? First ring asked. Our tractor beams can't handle so many small objects. Tom smiled. Sometimes the old ways are best. We'll use space tugs, simple rockets that can push and pull things in space. Earth has hundreds of them. As the hours counted down, a massive operation began. Space tugs from Earth arrived, piloted by volunteers who had trained for days instead of months. They worked with alien ships to create a massive barrier of metal and debris between the fleet and the approaching solar flare. Robert coordinated with other welders who had come from Earth, using their primitive techniques to join pieces of the barrier together. The aliens' advanced sensors helped position everything perfectly, while human ingenuity found ways to connect materials that were never meant to fit together. It's not pretty, Robert said, looking at the makeshift wall through a viewport, but it'll do the job. With just 3 hours to spare, the barrier was complete. It stretched for miles through space, a testament to human resourcefulness and determination. Old communication satellites flew alongside retired rocket stages, their surfaces reinforced by both human welds and alien technology. Now we wait, Captain Stone said, standing with first ring as the first radiation waves approached. The barrier lit up as the solar flare hit it. Sensors showed radiation levels rising. But the wall held. Pieces of Earth's space history gave their final service, sacrificing themselves to save millions of alien lives. Hours later, when the danger had passed, First Ring gathered the human crew together. Your species continues to amaze us, they said. You took what we would consider useless and turned it into salvation. We would never have thought of such a solution. Captain Stone looked at her tired but proud crew. Humans have always been good at making the best of what we have. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best ones. As the teams began collecting the remaining debris, humans and aliens worked side by side with a new level of respect. They had faced a crisis together and won, combining the best of both their civilizations. The barrier of space junk had done more than stop radiation. It had built a bridge between two species. 1 month after the solar flare incident, the alien fleet prepared for departure. Their ships hung in space above Earth, their quantum drives now humming with renewed power. The repairs were complete, and it was time to say goodbye. On the main deck of the command ship, Captain Stone stood with her crew as First Ring addressed them. Behind them, through the massive viewing window, Earth shone like a blue jewel in the darkness. When we sent out our distress call, First Ring began, we expected highly advanced civilizations to answer. Instead, we found humanity. They paused, their silvery skin shimmering. And we found something far more valuable than advanced technology. We found innovation, creativity, and unwavering determination. Tom Walker stood with his old notebook, now filled with new notes about quantum physics. Robert Davis had his welding helmet tucked under his arm, its surface now decorated with alien script, a gift from the engineering team. Maria Torres held a small crystalline cube containing alien children's messages and drawings. In recognition of humanity's aid, First Ring continued, we wish to share some of our technology. But we realize now that it's not our most valuable gift. They gestured, and Green Wave stepped forward with a device that projected a hologram of the galaxy. We are adding Earth to the Interstellar Navigation Network, they announced. But more importantly, we are marking your world as a place of wisdom. The hologram zoomed in on Earth's solar system, where a special symbol now glowed. This mark, First Ring explained, tells others that here lives a species who can solve problems in ways we have forgotten. A species that remembers that sometimes the old ways are the best ways. Captain Stone stepped forward. We learned just as much from you, she said. Your technology, your knowledge of the universe, it will help us grow. But you will grow in your own way, First Ring responded. That is your strength. While we sought perfection through technology, you maintained your connection to simpler solutions. You showed us that progress doesn't mean abandoning the past. Dr. James Miller, who had first received their distress signal, spoke up. Will we see you again? Count on it, First Ring said, their translator conveying warmth. We've already had requests from other alien civilizations wanting to learn your problem-solving methods. The galaxy is beginning to realize that humanity has something special to offer. The aliens presented their final gifts: quantum communication devices to stay in touch, medical technology that worked alongside natural healing, educational programs that combined advanced concepts with practical experience. But most importantly, they gave Earth membership in the galactic community. Your world is young, First Ring said, but your spirits are strong. We believe you will teach the galaxy to remember its roots, to find strength in simplicity. As the farewell ceremony concluded, humans and aliens embraced in their own ways. The alien children who had learned chess gave Maria a set made from crystalline materials that glowed with their moves. The engineering team presented Robert with a toolbox containing both advanced alien tools and spots for his essential basic equipment. Back at the Antarctic monitoring station, Dr. Miller received the first official transmission from the departing fleet. The message was simple: thank you for teaching us to look beyond the obvious. Humanity's greatest technology is not in your machines, but in your hearts and minds. The fleet's departure was visible from Earth as a series of bright flashes in the night sky. People gathered worldwide to watch, knowing that humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage. In the years that followed, Earth began receiving regular visitors. Alien civilizations came not just to trade technology, but to learn human ways of thinking and problem-solving. The Great Rescue became legend, told throughout the galaxy. The story of how a young species used simple tools and creative thinking to save an advanced civilization. Tom Walker kept teaching, sharing not just technical knowledge, but the wisdom of learning from mistakes. Robert Davis started a school combining advanced alien welding techniques with traditional human craftsmanship. Maria Torres became Earth's cultural ambassador to the stars. And in space, a new symbol marked Earth's place in the galactic maps. It didn't represent technological advancement or military power. Instead, it showed a human hand holding simple tools alongside complex quantum formula. A reminder that true wisdom comes from balancing the old and the new, the simple and the advanced, the practical and the theoretical. The story of the Great Rescue had ended, but humanity's journey to the stars was just beginning.